Welcome to Prepper Nation. I'm John. Thank you very much for being here. So, Americans are starving and Americans will be starving. Huge topic this morning. And no, I'm not talking about literally starving. Let's face it, most Americans are not going to be literally starving because they're going to be eating the bugs. You and I both know it. The person watching and listening right now, you know that I'm right. 75% of these people that say they'll never eat the bugs, they're going to end up eating the bugs. And the world leaders know this. And it's just a matter of time before people cave. But this morning, we're talking about something far deeper. All right. So, thinking cap time. And I hope, I always worry these deep discussions are going to run people off. You know what I mean? Don't let it run you off. Just listen to the banter this morning and let me know if I'm right, if I'm wrong, whatever the case may be. So Americans will be starving. Um, I sat around yesterday and I said, what is the number one problem in America today? And son, that can take an entire day to be sitting there contemplating. You know what I mean? Smoking a corncob pipe. Like there's so much wrong here in the United States of America. I think complacency is way up there on the list. We've talked about that before. Normalcy bias, we just talked about week and a half ago, maybe something like that. I don't know. As I get older, it escapes me. I know we talked about it though, and it's way up there on the list. Normalizing things that should not be normalized or just being complacent. Again, I'm not going down that rabbit hole this morning, but the whole, somebody needs to do something crowd, right? So since you're already on YouTube, and if you're not familiar with Simon Sinek, some people may be. He is a motivational speaker who talks specifically about things like leadership. He does these huge management conferences and things like this. Very wise man. And he does one. You can type this in on YouTube, and it's called, again, Simon Sinek, Sinek. Why Leaders Eat Last. It's like a 45-minute deal, but it's really good. I'd seen it before. I went back and rewatched it though. Why Leaders Eat Last. And during his video, he's explaining the difference between good leadership and bad leadership. And I said, because this is how my mind works, I said, who are the greatest military leaders of all time? Could go all over the place. Over on the backup channel, The Bunker, I actually did I think it was a top 5 or a top 10 military generals throughout history, but I went to history.com and here's who they had. I don't agree with all of these, but I agree with most of these. George Washington, Winfield Scott, Ulysses S. Grant, William Sherman, Stonewall Jackson, George Patton, Dwight Eisenhower. So me personally, I'm taking Ulysses S. Grant off of that list. I'm going to put Robert E. Lee on there. I think he was a better leader. And I'm taking Dwight Eisenhower straight up off of there because I'm not a fan, to be honest with you. However, I looked at these names and I said, what do they all have in common here? Right? And what they have in common, in my opinion, is at least most of them. I don't know about Eisenhower and Grant. Grant was an alcoholic from what I understand, big time. Um, they all had the unique ability to walk through or ride through an encampment and motivate people. People really got behind these because they ate last. Now, what does that actually mean? That actually means you take care of the people who serve underneath you first. You know what I mean? Respect is not given, it's earned, right? And so we see this all the time in movies and things. And maybe you've seen it if you were in the military, maybe you had it happen to you. Sometimes people get straight out of college and they go in and they're your superior, right? But they're only book smart. Whereas somebody that's, a sergeant that's been there for a very long time, they know what they're doing. They're going to have the respect of the people they're fighting with. You know what I mean? They're gonna trust their lives to somebody with that kind of experience or that have the ability to motivate, which I definitely think is the case with George Washington, Stonewall Jackson. You lead by example, right? Stonewall, he got the nickname for a reason. He's showing them, you're not going to fight scared because I'm going to sit here and I'm not going to be scared. My faith is going to carry me through. So they had the respect of their men. They had that no soldier left behind mentality. To spin it over to a movie, I know it's a movie, but it's a great movie. Real quick, We Were Soldiers with Mel Gibson. One of my favorite parts of that movie is him telling his men straight away, some of you are going to die. Some of you are not coming back, right? But I'm going to be there with you. I'm going to be the first one off the chopper, and I'm going to be the last one back on the chopper. That's leading by example. I had a boss, not to spin it too hard this morning, son, but I had a boss one time, female, Karen, if she's out there, and I unloaded trucks. This was the job. You unload trucks on midnight. It is what it is. And it was tough. And sometimes you got multiple trucks you didn't know were coming, and they were like, it was Walmart. For anybody that's wondering, we need you to cut your lunch break down to a 15-minute break to get things done. And this really pissed the employees off because number one, it's illegal. Number two, you're being told this by people that don't even come in on midnight, right? They just there on the day job or whatever, wearing their ties and stuff. And my boss, Karen, she would get in there and she would work with you and she would cut her break with you. She made it well known that I'm not going to ask you folks to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself. So translate this to American 2024. You say, John, what are you talking about, son? We all over the place. We are, but I'm highly caffeinated. Americans eat last in 2024. And this is a huge problem. And then when I say Americans, I'm talking about the American citizens who are taxpayers, uh, who work. The I don't want to say real Americans, right? Because people get upset when you say that, but the conventional Americans, the folks that are probably my age, maybe a little younger, maybe older, who work 9 to 5, who chase that American dream, who think, if I work hard, it's going to pay off on Friday when I get paid. So Americans eat last, unfortunately, here in 2024. And y'all know it's true. Corrupt politicians eat before we do. Look at the draft, conscription, the idea. We've talked about it in this community before. I'm not a fan of it. I don't want my kids going off to fight in Europe or the Middle East or what have you for billionaires. But let's not sit here and pretend like corrupt politicians are going to be sending their sons and daughters, because they're not. They're going to get out of that mandatory service, right? But they eat for free on many different levels. Illegals right now. Oh, John, you're dehumanizing people. I'm not doing that. I'm calling a spade this morning, son. People that are not supposed to be in this country are eating better than people that are working 9 to 5 in this country and paying for the country. And that's statistical fact. You can Google it. America haters eat first in this country. They get preferential treatment in this country. You think I'm playing. I'm not playing. Apply for college. If you're an American citizen, especially if you're Caucasian or they find out you're a Christian, they're going to put you over here and they're going to give preferential treatment to people from the Middle East, people from oppressed regions of the world. Even if they hate the United States of America, they're eating before you and I. And that's just the truth of it. I mean, they all eat before we do. In no world should people that are here illegally eat before our veterans, but they do. They have better health care because they snuck across the border and they're here to replace workforce than our American veterans have. We're eating last at some point. The American citizens are, and it sucks. Citizens of different countries. Look at Ukraine for a second. There are other countries. I'm not just pointing out Ukraine, but it's a glaring example. because we keep sending money over there. We're not just sending weapons. We're not just sending money to buy weapons. We are, for those that don't know, I've mentioned this before, but there's some new faces here. We, the American taxpayers, are paying for the retirements of government officials in Ukraine, because officials in Ukraine need to retire. They need to have their insurance and that steady paycheck, but Ukraine can't afford it if they're focused on a war. So we have stepped in to pay for this. Those folks are eating better than many of us are eating, and it sucks. Um, and this is one of the reasons one of the many that Americans don't respect the government. Show of hands. Do you respect the government? Because I don't. If you don't respect the government, throw them hands up in the air, right? So the government is so corrupt that Trump voters and pro-Palestinian mobs literally agree on this. They both hate the government. They're like, the government sucks. Now, they got their different paths, of course. They hate them for different reasons, of course, right? But at the end of the day, I think there was a video floating around a couple of weeks ago where literally MAGA crowds and pro-Palestinian crowds were all chanting in unison FJB. He's the ultimate unifier. He was not lying about it. Let me tell you how easy it would be to fix the United States of America if I was in a position to do it, which obviously I'm not, son. How do you fix the national debt? You go in and you let Congress know, no uncertain terms here, Congress. If you pass one funding bill that increases the national debt rather than get rid of some of the national debt, you're not electable anymore. We'll wipe the entire Congress out and elect all anew. And we'll keep doing it until somebody finally gets physically responsible on Capitol Hill. Take away that bread money ticket that they got, the gravy train. All of a sudden, they'll be worried about the national debt. How do you save Social Security? There's this back and forth. Because again, Americans eat free. You retired, they're like, screw you. It doesn't matter. You're not getting anything from us. We took it out of your pockets. But again, Americans eat last, right? How to save Social Security? It's very easy. You take Congress and you put them on Social Security. You eliminate their other benefits. You put them on Social Security. And guess what? Promise you they're going to start focusing on Social Security very quickly. All right, because then it's about self-preservation. Right now it's not. Right now it's rules for thee, but not us, right? Sucks, man. America cannot prosper as a nation until we somehow begin to trust our leadership. And again, show of hands, I don't trust the leadership. And I don't see where we get to a point where we can ever trust the leadership here in the United States again. And this is a huge problem. It may be America's number one problem. Because you can only tax the American worker while also ignoring the American worker for so long. You can only do it for so long. Right now, they're taking the money out of your pockets, and we're going to get into some stats here in a minute. They're taking the money out of your pockets, right? And then they're saying, go play in the road, son. You know, go tie. I used to hear this in the South. It's a joke. They didn't mean it really, but the grown-ups used to tell us, you know, go outside before I tie a pork chop around your neck and, you know, you can go play with the dogs. Go out there. We ain't got time for you now. We done got your money. That's what the government is doing to us. And it can only last for so long, I would think, before Americans get sick of it and the dam bursts. And when that happens, there's no telling what that looks like. I really don't know, to be honest with you. Let's get into some numbers real quick because it's kind of mind blowing. I said to myself, son, how much are we actually paying in taxes? And if you're one of the weirdos that says, well, just don't pay them, just don't pay taxes, it's your own fault. Listen up. Get them bell tones turned up a little bit, okay? Because I'm about to break it down for you. There are all kinds of hidden taxes. There are all kinds of secret taxes. There's sin taxes, as they are called. They tax everything. If you buy food, if you buy clothes, if you buy whiskey, vodka, tobacco, gas, phone, the phone that you're from, don't you pay taxes? You're paying taxes on that. You're paying taxes on the internet that you're using. I said, what is the actual number? How much is our tax rate when you cut everything in? Now I'm talking about income taxes, property taxes again, because you gotta, when you buy the car, you pay it, then you pay it again at the end of every year, right? All of the taxes. If you combine all of this stuff, what is the actual tax rate that Americans are paying? According to IPI.org, which is a website where they track this, Americans, working class Americans, are paying 55% of our total income in some various tax. 55%. Over half of the money that you are making, thieves are taking. Let's freaking number. 55%. And then you factor in inflation, which ain't no joke, and it certainly is not 3.4% or whatever they're claiming it is this week. But you hear politicians, you hear your leaders. Some people get mad when you use the term leaders. Your elected officials, which are your leaders, right? Whatever, we can circle around, split hairs. They are in charge of you. You know what I'm saying? They are making the laws that you and I have to live by. They are leading you. Spin it however you want, but whatever. You hear them get on TV and say, Americans need to pay their fair share. What kind of crap is that? We're paying 55% of our total income in various taxes to state, to local, to the federal government. We're paying at point of sale. We're paying all over the place. And we're being told, it's like they're spitting in our face. We're being told, pay your fair share. Seems like we already fought a war over this. I could be wrong on that. I could be wrong. I'm not an expert by any means on that particular war. But it seems like the redcoats got whacked over this particular issue. But the thing is, our elected officials, our leaders, they don't care. They do not care. That 55% in just a few years is going to be 60% or 65% or 70%. People will complain. People will complain, but they're not going to take it past that. We are starving for good leadership in this country. For the never Trumpers that tune in, which is weird to me, by the way. And they'll come over here and they'll leave these little comments again from their taxable phone and internet, BlackBerry or whatever. I don't think they make Blackberries anymore. Showing my age. But look, we're starving for good leadership. And people say, how could anybody vote for Trump? He's done this and he's done this and he's been in court for this. Listen, our leadership literally sucks so bad in this country that the American voter and the American citizen who is getting hammered, getting killed with taxes and inflation, they're looking at Donald Trump and they're saying to themselves, this is the only official that I see, the only big name in politics that I see that actually says they understand what I'm going through. Right? Democrats are coming after this man. They're slandering him in court. They're dropping truth bomb after truth bomb after truth bomb, trying to bankrupt him, trying to open conservative eyes. You don't want this guy. And conservatives are saying, we don't care if he's cheated on his wife 5,000 times, been married 25 times. We literally don't care. We're sick of paying what we are paying for gas and groceries and insurance and medicine and yada, 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 while watching A band of thieves in D.C. I'm almost going backwards here. I got to back it off a little bit. While watching this band of thieves in D.C. send our wealth to other countries or hand our wealth out to illegals when they cross the freaking border. We're sick of it. This is why Trump is so popular. In case you're one of these little never Trumpers tuning in, you can't figure out why. You can't figure out why Biden has spent 4 or 5 times as much on advertising and he's getting slaughtered in the polls. Can't figure it out. What's going on? Americans are pissed off and they're tired. Trump is not the problem. For the folks out there that hate Donald Trump, Trump is a populist. He's not the problem. The problem is the fact that he's a populist and the fact that people are behind him, you know, the way that they are. That's the real issue you should be worried about. We talk about the J6 witch hunt and back and forth, and they broke this law. Shouldn't be worried about what laws were broken. Should be worried that the American people are marching on the Capitol in the first place because they're sick and tired of it. Because it's only going to get worse from here, right? Americans don't know what else to do. They've got to get behind somebody like Trump or the next populist because it's a chain reaction at this point. There's going to be Trump after Trump after Trump, I promise you. They may have different last names, but they're going to pander to the populist movement at this point. Americans don't know what else to do because there's only one alternative. Again, we fought the redcoats once, and Americans don't seem interested in doing it twice. They're not willing to do that. They got to get behind whichever candidate is speaking to them. But Americans will continue to starve because Americans have gotten so used to it. Talked about this a few weeks ago, I think. You, as an American citizen, taxpayer, you've been taking beatings for so long that you're just used to it. You know, at some point, your body gets numb to it. You don't even know you're getting beatings anymore because it seems normal. It seems normal to pay 55% of your entire income in taxes, one way or the other. And not only pay that, but still have the national debt that we have. It seems it's normal. Long as the lights are on at Burger King and you can go through the drive-through, right? Long as your TV works when you turn it on after work, everything's normal. I'm gonna leave you off the quote. It's from Mel Gibson, The Patriot. Excellent movie. If you've not seen The Patriot, immediately click off and go watch The Patriot with Mel Gibson. He said in the movie, an elected legislature can trample a man's rights as easily as a king can.